This is the final video in the series on budgeting. In previous videos, we talked about how to prepare and adopt a budget. But even the most carefully planned budget cannot predict the future, and changes will likely have to happen. This video will talk about how to make amendments to that budget. Alaska law requires municipalities to make amendments by ordinance. Even moving money from one account or department to another is done by that ordinance. Alaska law doesn't say when you need to make a budget amendment, but we recommend for any change that is 10% or $10,000 difference that an amendment be done. To amend a budget, you have to adopt a new budget ordinance. That adoption process is the exact same process we described in the second video in this series. The budget amendment ordinance must clearly identify the amounts and categories being changed. In this example, the cost for water testing was higher than budgeted, and fuel costs are lower than budgeted because of a mild winter, so we are transferring money between the accounts. $2,000 is transferred from one expense line item to another without any changes in income, total expenses, or ending cash balances. Sometimes municipalities must authorize additional or supplemental amounts that were not included in the original budget. For example, let's say your furnace breaks down and a new one is $10,000. In our example here, the total expense is increased by $10,000. The amendment also identifies how this additional expense will be paid, namely by transferring $10,000 from the savings account to the operating budget. When adding new appropriations to the budget, you need to decide how are you going to absorb that cost. Will you reduce expenses? Will you transfer money in from a savings account? Or will you find new sources of income? Whatever you do, you need to make sure that it's approved by the governing body and something you can afford. So those were two examples of budget amendments. I know that there's going to be all sorts of crazy reasons why you will need to amend your budget. Two tips though. 6 months into the fiscal year, do a really thorough review to see if you are 10% or $10,000 difference. And doing a budget amendment will actually make your job a whole lot easier when you need to make next year's budget, because this one will only be that much more accurate. Well, thanks a lot for sticking with us. That was the last video in the budgeting series. There's a lot of resources out there. Between these videos, the budget manual, and all the local government specialists, I know you can succeed.